Hi everyone, this is Miss Bernucci. What I'm going to do is talk about my course expectations. So the previous video talked more about the AP Physics exam and what to expect. In this video, I'll talk about what to expect in my classroom. So I hope you got an idea of what the AP Physics exam is like in the other video. This is a college course. Everything that is taught here is actually taught at Quinnipiac and Southern. So this is the exact same content as a college course. Generally, this is the course that most nursing majors take, or any sort of biology or medical majors take. If you want to go into engineering, you'll probably take a course called Engineering Physics with Calculus. So this is an algebra-based course. There's going to be no calculus. I will talk a little bit about it because it is relevant in certain situations. But this is the algebra-based course. So like I said, if you're going to do engineering, you'll probably do the same course with more math to it. We will use trigonometry in this course, so you'll have to be comfortable with using sine, cosine, tangent. You don't have to explain why you're using sine, cosine, and tangent, although knowing why is absolutely helpful in understanding. A little bit about me. This is my second year at Sacred Heart, but this is my 10th year of teaching. I actually adjunct at Quinnipiac University and Southern Connecticut State University. So in addition to this job, I have two other jobs. With that, in order to contact me, my extra help room is the room 350. If I am not there for whatever reason, although I should be, you can always email ngrunucci@sacredhearthamden.org. I will let you know that if you email me past 10 o'clock, I probably won't get back to you because I usually go to bed around that time. But that doesn't mean that I don't want you to email me. So if there's ever an issue, please, at all hours, email me, but you may not get a response till the next morning. I will be after school pretty much every day, so if you have any questions, you can find me there. So what you need for the course. So the first thing that you need for the course, the most important thing, is what is called a Mastering Physics account. What I'm going to have you use in this course is an online grading homework site that I've used in college. So it's literally, again, my college, just like a college course. It's called Mastering Physics. So what you'll do is you'll go on to this website right here called Mastering Physics. And if you go to Student, I'll walk you through this. This is what you need to actually create an account, an email. So obviously you can use your Sacred Heart email. You're going to get a course ID number, which actually is on your syllabus. I'll show you right here. MP, so Mastering Physics, Granucci. That's an I, and then it's 28663. And then an access code or a credit card. So you can buy the access code on Amazon or your favorite website, or you could actually just go through here. So if you click OK, or whatever button I just clicked there, and you type in your professor's IP, 28663, there you go. Now when you do, it should say SHOT AP Physics B, this, etc. like that. If that doesn't come up, then you know, obviously maybe have to try typing it again or whatever the case is. And then you're going to create a username and password, and this is going to be your own personal username or password. I recommend that you just use your first initial last name for your username, and then your password, you know, maybe, you know, whatever is useful for you. And once you log in, I'm not going to do this obviously because I'll have to pay for it, is you're going to come to something similar to this. Now this is the this is my view, of course. This is the instructor view. Your view is going to be a little different. Let's see here. But what you'll notice is this is your online homework site, which is this is your book. And what you'll see, obviously I haven't populated everything just yet, but your homework will be online. Since I'm on the topic of the homework, I'll talk a little bit about it. So on your homework, I have a mix of a couple types of questions. Sorry about the noise. I have multiple choice because on the AP you'll have multiple choice questions. And I also have questions that involve some sort of calculation. So let me just click on one random question right now. This is a multiple, well, 2 questions, but that's okay. An object, if the velocity of an object is 0, then the object cannot be accelerating. The answer is actually false here, but I'm going to put true. So the way this homework works is you have unlimited attempts to get the questions right. So you can rework these problems as many times as you want. So just to show you, I know this answer is wrong. So it says try again. And then once you do that, submit correct. So that's an example of the multiple choice type of question. And then if I go back or go to the next question, there you go. You'll see multiple choice questions that are very similar to the AP Physics question. So I've already tested a few of them just to make sure, and I usually do too. Sometimes I make up my own questions, sometimes they're book questions, sometimes they're drawing questions, sometimes they're calculation questions. This was a drawing question that I did. I just want to show you. Okay, so you'll have stuff like this where you have to show your work. So I don't know the answer of this off the top of my head without working it out, but you enter in your value here and then try again. So you could do this. I mean, obviously guess and check is not the preferred method, but you can submit your answers as many times as you want. That's the whole point. Let me just close this for now. So your homework assignments, unless otherwise I say specifically, you have unlimited attempts. The only time that you do not get credit for the homework assignment is if you give up and ask to show the answer, because there is an option that says give up. Actually, I know I just went out of this. Let's do this one. Okay, so it says give up. Okay, say you just you worked out so many times and I guess you give up, right? You press the button, give up, it will show you the answer. Do you really want to do that? And then it gives you the answer. Now the good thing about it is it gives you the answer, so if you'd like to work backwards, you can do that. So it's actually a very powerful site. It does have its nuances and it does have some glitches, so let me know if there's ever a glitch. I know one time I had a homework assignment that the student put 9.42 and the answer was 9.4, or that's the one they wanted. So if you're doing it right, just send me an email. I'll be happy to fix the assignment because it's not perfect. But it does give you the opportunity to practice right away, gives you feedback on whether or not you're right or wrong, and allows them limited chances to try to get these answers right. So it's a pretty good website. Let me go ahead and close this. Okay. So kind of coming back to this, that's the required thing that you need. It's about $60, so it's not too much. I mean, it's not great, but it's not bad. You do not need a textbook. So I have that. I know I'm skipping around a little bit, but this is the textbook I am using for the homework. So if you are a textbook person, or if you want an ebook, or you learn better by reading, absolutely purchase a textbook. It's about $200 or $300 depending on the package that you want. But make sure that if you do buy the textbook, get the textbook and Mastering Physics account together. I know there were some issues over the summer, so I told you to wait for that. But the textbook is not required. I require the homework site. Some other things that you have is, I assume most of you do have a graphing or scientific calculator. I recommend that you have color pens and pencils, something with colors, because I will use colors in class to draw diagrams and modeling. We will be doing angle measurements, so it's nice to have a protractor and a straight edge for making best fit graphs. You will require to have a physics binder for notes and a separate one for lab. Well, not necessarily a separate binder, but a separate section for labs. This is required by the AP Physics Board to have a complete compile of your labs in one location. So you are going to be required for that, and I will check quarterly to make sure that you are actually doing that. And then, of course, we're going to be using our laptops for not only online simulations, but for labs. So we'll definitely use those. So bring those, make sure those are charged. Make sure you bring your charging cords because we'll definitely use those a lot. So I put this, like I said, the textbook is optional. If you would like to buy one of those AP prep books, this is the best one I found out of the many of prep books that I've used. It's the one that's the closest and most similar to the exam. So a lot of the other ones are kind of old and outdated because they changed the exam 3 years ago. So this one reflects the newest changes. The only downfall about this, it doesn't have a lot of practice questions, but the good news is I'll give you a ton of those. So this is just another book if you're looking for an AP prep book. So there's a heavy focus on the course grade in terms of the exams. Of course, this is all based on a final exam, so your exam is weighted the most. The second most thing that's weighted is your lab grade because although this is, you're taking this exam and it's a paper exam, the focus of it is actually an application and labs. So it's very, very important that not only we do the labs, but I give you the feedback and give you lots of practice with the labs. So the bulk of the course is going to come from your tests and your labs. Your homework is 15%. Quizzes, if I give them, will be 10%. So your scores in the course will reflect the AP score. So if you're getting an A, you'll probably score about a 4 or 5. If you get a B, that's a score of a 3. If you're getting a C, that's a score of a 2. And if you're lower than a C, then that's going to be equivalent to a score of 1. So my grading process is to give you a realistic sense of where you are in terms of scoring for the AP. So your letter grade should match what you get on the AP at all times. Attendance is expected. We don't need to read that. If you miss a class, it's your responsibility to look at on campus. All your assignments will be there. So, for example, if you look at an assignment and you're absent, unless there's some other extenuating circumstances, you are required to complete that assignment on time. Obviously, if you're sick or something happens, I get that. Please communicate with me. I'm happy to work with you because I know that life happens and for whatever reason you can't do the assignment, no problem. But be aware of that because that's the first thing I'm going to ask you is, did you look online, So please, if you do need more time on an assignment because there's something preventing you from doing it, send me an email. I'll be happy to work with you as best as I can. As I explained, your homework is majority online, although you'll have other assignments as well. For example, I might assign a homework that requires you to write conclusion statement for the lab that day. I might have pre-lab assignments. I might have video assignments. So the homework extends far beyond just the online homework. So I'll be giving you quizzes periodically. The more you practice, the better you become. So I'll generally keep them pretty short, but they are going to be pretty comprehensive and similar to the AP exam, like what you saw earlier. Generally, not always. I'll keep them pretty short, 5 questions, multiple choice, and 1 explanation or computational question. If you're not present during the time of the quiz, I do require that you have a valid written excuse for missing the quiz. Obviously, if you're sick, that's a valid written excuse, so please, I would like one. Also, this implies that if you are, for example, if our class meets the first period and you come in the second period after the quiz, you're still required to take that quiz that day. Oops. Tests. So 1 to 2 exams will be given per quarter depending on our time. Generally, be about 15 multiple choice and 4 computational problems that model the AP. Mostly this is just to get you to practice and then gives you a score to kind of show you where you are in terms of your AP score. And again, so once again, if you're not present during an exam, you must have a written excuse. And then you have 1 cycle to make up that quiz or test grade. After that, the grade will be given a 0. This is because after, if you're not, what do I want to say, specifically, this is just to make sure that you're on task and you don't fall behind. Obviously, there's extenuating circumstances, so if that's the case, we'll work together on that. But it is expected that you take the test or quiz on time, and if not, it's in a timely fashion afterward. The AP Physics exam allows you to use an equation sheet, and it is right here. You can download it on your computer. You are required to bring it to your exam or quizzes. You may always use it, as you will be able to use it for your exam. I will not provide printed out copies, so it's up to you to print out your own copy. I'll give you one printed copy at the beginning of the year, so it's up to you to either hold on to it or be ready to print them off as you need them. Okay, so one of the biggest things about this course is going to be the AP Physics lab. The College Board requires that 25% of our time is spent on lab and inquiry-based labs. To account for the lack of time, we're going to use a modified schedule for the AP Physics. Everyone is aware of the schedule, including the administration and your coaches, but we're going to now extend all E days, since they're on the last period of the day, till about 3 o'clock to allow for more class time and lab time. So as far as we know, like I said, I've already talked to Sister Kathleen Mary. She has agreed with us to allow for more lab time, and she's aware of the situation. We also have extended lab days, which are going to be mostly on E4 days. If you notice, I didn't really change our E4 days. But then what I did is offer a part 2. So, for example, one of the labs that we're going to do is going to take about 2.5 hours. Doesn't mean that it's going to require all of that time, but it is going to require much of that time, which is why we're doing it like this. So that gives us about 2 hours roughly in part 1. And then what I'll do is I'll come in early the next day if you need to finish up any part of the lab, to go over discussions, etc. like that. So AP Physics labs are much different than probably any other lab class you've done because they're long. They're not easy labs. What makes them long is the setup, the analysis, and the data collection. We usually need to run these experiments for a long time to collect our data. So most of these are either on a Tuesday. They're all of these are on E4 days, as you can see here. So you're already extending that E4 time, and then we're going into the next day, except for 2. Open house is a required lab because it's one of our longest labs. And then Saturday, March 17th is another extended lab date. Both of those are going to require weekend labs to do. So ideally, we cover all the labs in the allotted time that we need. So if you have any questions about this, just see me and I'd be happy to address it. But right now, all E4 days are extended to about 3 o'clock. If you're going to have some issues with this, and I know that life can happen, I know that if there's an issue, just let me know. This, of course, is all for your benefit. This is extra time for me that I'm taking on my schedule, but it's definitely necessary for you for your lab course. So this is our tentative lab. So you can put these on your calendar. You're aware of the situation. So if you have work, if you have practice, if you have life things, they're right here. So you know in advance what are the days that are going to cause some, cause issues if there is going to be some issues with some of these dates. So I'll give you a lab grading rubric for each lab because there's specific skills or content that I'm going to be looking for. Participation is also going to be part of your lab grade. It's expected that everyone participates in the setup, data collection, lab safety, collaboration, and cleanup. So if you're letting somebody do all of the work, then your lab grade will be affected. And I'll address it in the rubric, so it's not going to be a surprise. I'll say lab participation and where you need to work on those skills. So these are our tentative labs. I may add more or less depending on our timing, but these are the required labs. This is by the AP Physics Board. So these are labs that they expect you to see, and you'll be expected to know to answer the questions in the AP exam. And this is all stuff that we can look at later. And then this is the tentative, schedule like that. So the big take home from this is that we're going to be doing a lot of labs. We're going to need lots of calculations. And that the only really required thing other than the obvious things like your notebook and your laptop will be the Mastering Physics account. So if you have any more questions about the course itself, just feel free to email me. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. Okay? I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you all soon.